If you were to give me an example or a story in your own life about how this research has had an impact on you personally, what story would you tell me?
That's a great question. You know, I get this question a lot in the sense that people say, well, are your emotions different from other people's emotions because you're an expert? And so, you know, how does the lens of your research sort of shape your day-to-day life? And on the one hand, I think it doesn't, right? You know, in some ways, I think everyone has emotions, and mine are no more sophisticated nor less sophisticated than anyone else's. On the other hand, you know, I do think that because I know the power of conceptualizing, it does help me to situate sensations more. And I think the way that it helps me do so is that I think I'm much more apt to differentiate between what is an emotion and what is caused by something else entirely. So I think there's something that we take for granted is that our body is really kind of a noisy thing. And some people are very attuned to their bodies and some people are not attuned to their bodies. But for people who are attuned to their bodies, there's all sorts of twinges and sensations and pleasantness and unpleasantness. That's all sort of this big, you know, flowing river that's happening in our bodies every day. And it's easy to jump to the conclusion that something that's happening is the feeling of an emotion, when it could be caused by exercising, or it could be caused by being hungry, or it could be caused by being sleepy, or what have you. And I think that something that I've tried to do as a product of my own research is to be good about realizing, when is this actually an emotional thing? So, you know, something in the environment has happened, and, you know, an interaction with a colleague is actually, you know, making me angry, or I'm actually feeling nervous about, you know, this upcoming speech or what have you. And when is it my body doing something else entirely, but I'm inferring that it's an emotion? So I tell this story about when I was in graduate school and I had to teach a class. And, you know, I love teaching, and so actually I didn't generally feel nervous about teaching this class. So I would go the whole day not feeling nervous, and then I walked up this flight of stairs. This was an older building on Boston College's campus, and so it was this really steep, long flight of stairs. And by the time I got to that flight of stairs and I'd be walking down the hall, all of a sudden I would be gripped with this horrible anxiety. And I would think, why am I feeling this way when I spent the whole day feeling prepared and excited and happy, and now all of a sudden I'm gripped with anxiety as I'm about to face these students? This is so strange. And eventually I realized, Kristen, this is what you study on a day-to-day basis. You just walked up this huge flight of stairs, and despite, you know, being in decent shape, it was putting strain on your cardiovascular system, and your heart was beating, and you started breathing more heavily. And I was conceptualizing that physiological state as anxiety, when in fact, I wasn't really feeling anxious. My body was just responding to the task of walking up a huge flight of stairs. And by the time I would get into the classroom, I would think, no, actually, you're right. My heart rate has gone down, my breathing has gone down. I'm feeling great again. I'm feeling excited about this.
Oh, that's such a lovely example. Yeah, because the physiological response of anxiety and of exercise is actually quite similar.
It's very
isn't
similar. They're both very embodied and they're both very activated, and it's really a subtle thing to figure out what's what.